Mark Carney, the former governor of the Bank of England, had returned to his native Canada. He sought a new challenge. He found it in the country's highest office. Canadians, weary of partisan bickering, embraced his steady hand and global experience. They handed him a resounding victory in the April 2025 federal election. Carney's win sent a clear message. Canada sought a leader who could navigate the turbulent waters of global politics and economics. A leader who could stand up for Canadian interests on the world stage. Carney's first order of business was a trip to Washington, D.C., the destination the Oval Office. The objective to meet with President Donald Trump. The stakes were high. The relationship between the two North American neighbors had been strained in recent years. Tariffs and trade disputes cast a long shadow over the world's longest undefended border. Carney knew he had his work cut out for him. The Oval Office has borne witness to countless historic moments. On May 6, 2025, it hosted another. Mark Carney, in his first official visit as Prime Minister, sat across from President Trump. The two leaders, a study in contrasts, exchanged pleasantries. Trump, the veteran showman, exuded his trademark bravado. Carney, the economist and central banker, projected an air of quiet confidence. The mood was cordial, even optimistic. Beneath the surface, however, lay a current of tension. The conversation quickly turned to the issues that had come to define the U.S.-Canada relationship: trade, tariffs, and the ever-looming shadow of American dominance. Carney, ever the diplomat, emphasized the deep ties between the two nations. He spoke of shared values and a common history. Trump, never one to shy away from a deal, focused on the bottom line. He stressed the need for fairness and reciprocity in trade. The stage was set for a clash of ideologies. President Trump, a self-proclaimed master of the art of the deal, had long viewed trade through a particular lens. To him, it was a zero-sum game. For America to win, others had to lose. His presidency had been marked by a series of trade disputes with allies and adversaries alike. Canada, despite its close ties to the United States, had not been spared. Trump's tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, imposed in the name of national security, had stung the Canadian economy. Carney, a staunch defender of free trade, countered Trump's arguments. He pointed out that the tariffs had hurt American consumers and businesses as well. He argued that the integrated nature of the North American economy meant that damage to one part inevitably harmed the whole. Carney's message was clear. Cooperation, not confrontation, was the path to prosperity. The conversation took an unexpected turn when President Trump, in a moment of characteristic unpredictability, floated an idea. Why not, he suggested, consider having Canada become the 51st state? The United States, he argued, would benefit from Canada's vast natural resources. Canada, in turn, would enjoy the full protection of the American military and economic might. The suggestion, delivered with a mix of jest and seriousness, hung in the air. Carney, caught off guard by the audacity of the proposal, responded with a wry smile. As you know from real estate, he quipped, there are some places that are not for sale. The opportunity is in the partnership. Trump, never one to back down from a challenge, simply chuckled and replied, never say never. Section 5. The Price of Protectionism. The exchange over Canada's potential annexation, though delivered in a lighthearted manner, underscored a fundamental tension in the U.S.-Canada relationship. Trump's America First agenda, with its emphasis on protectionism and unilateral action, had shaken the foundations of the global order. Canada, long a champion of multilateralism and international cooperation, found itself increasingly at odds with its southern neighbor. The impact of Trump's tariffs was being felt far beyond the halls of power. Canadian businesses, facing higher costs and reduced access to the American market, were struggling to adapt. Some were forced to lay off workers. Others were retooling their operations, looking for new markets for their goods. The Canadian economy, though resilient, was feeling the strain. Section 6. The Unsettled Future of USMCA. The North American Free Trade Agreement, once a symbol of continental integration, had been renegotiated and rebranded as the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA, under the Trump administration. The new agreement, while preserving some elements of its predecessor, had introduced new complexities and uncertainties. Carney, in his discussions with Trump, stressed the need to revisit certain aspects of the USMCA. Carney's concerns were shared by many Canadian businesses and labor groups. They argued that the USMCA, in its current form, did not adequately address issues such as labor standards, environmental protection, and dispute resolution. They called for a more balanced and equitable agreement, one that reflected the realities of the 21st century global economy. Section 7. Rumblings in the West. While Carney navigated the complexities of the US-Canada relationship on the international stage, a different kind of challenge was brewing back home. In Alberta, Canada's energy heartland, a separatist movement was gaining momentum. Fueled by frustration with federal policies perceived as hostile to the province's oil and gas industry, the movement's proponents were calling for a referendum on Alberta's independence. The potential for a Wexit, as it had come to be known, added another layer of complexity to Carney's already daunting to-do list. The Prime Minister recognized the legitimate grievances of many Albertans. He also understood that the unity of Canada was at stake. Finding a way to bridge the divide between Alberta and the rest of the country would require all of his political skill. Section 8. A partnership tested. The Oval Office meeting between Carney and Trump, while cordial in tone, exposed the deep divisions that had come to define the US-Canada relationship. Trump's America First worldview, with its emphasis on protectionism and national interest, stood in stark contrast to Canada's tradition of multilateralism and international cooperation. The two leaders, despite their personal rapport, seemed to inhabit different ideological universes. The stakes were high. The United States and Canada, bound by geography, history, and economics, shared a vital partnership. The two countries were each other's largest trading partners. They collaborated closely on issues ranging from defense to environmental protection. A breakdown in the relationship would have profound consequences for both nations and for the world. Section 9. The Road Ahead. As Carney departed the Oval Office that day, the future of the US-Canada relationship remained uncertain. The two leaders had agreed to keep talking, to explore areas of common ground, but the challenges were formidable. Bridging the ideological divide between Trump's America First agenda and Canada's commitment to multilateralism would be no easy feat. The road ahead was fraught with uncertainty. Yet amidst the challenges, there was also hope. The deep ties that bound Canada and the United States, forged over decades of cooperation and shared sacrifice, could not be easily undone. The two countries, despite their differences, remained bound by a common destiny. The task for leaders like Carney and Trump was to find a way to navigate the turbulent waters of the 21st century while preserving the essential elements of a partnership that had brought peace and prosperity to millions.